Good morning. It is Friday, August 26, 2011. Today is the last day of my 18-month MBA program, and our last assignment was to write a paper that kind of talks about the experience that we had. However, I thought it would be a lot more appropriate to do a YouTube video, something I could look back on 10 years from now and probably have a lot more meaning than writing a paper. So let's start. The program started, like I said, 18 months ago. We started with our first class called Management Foundations. In that class, we were introduced to the Harvard Business Review, read some great articles by Peter Drucker. One that really sticks out in my mind was an article by Nash and Bennett called Success That Lasts, that basically talked about how to sustain a career as a leader in business. The other important article that I spent a lot of time reading was how to manage a remote workforce, which is very appropriate to what I do. In my new role, coming up as a physician recruiting manager, 3/4 of my staff does work off-site, and some of the important things that I already knew but kind of reinforced is how important it is to communicate with each one of those on pretty much a daily basis. And one of the things that we will be doing is doing a lot of video conferencing, either through iPads or through Skype or other means, just to kind of keep in touch. We also spent a lot of time learning how to develop PowerPoints, which was really very powerful. I can't tell you how many PowerPoint presentations that I've sat through throughout my career, where they just cram a bunch of stuff on a slide, expect you to remember it. The book that we read, Beyond Bullet Points, is something that I use really since the first day that I read it. I use that in all of my PowerPoints now. They're based on pictures with 3 or 4 bullet points on there and a lot of notes. The idea is to grab the attention of your audience, and so they can focus on the picture and listen to what you're talking about. So I really like that class. It also was our first introduction to teamwork, and I'll talk later about how important the teamworks were, especially when it came to accounting and finance. The next class we had was organizational behavior, and it was all about developing a culture or different cultures that do exist in an organization and how important those are. And my favorite, the organization that I used to work for that I will return to, they have what's called a market culture. And at first I really didn't like the idea of what a market culture is, but over the 18 months I've kind of changed my opinion about that. Basically, with a market culture, the organization focuses on 2 things, customers and profits. It doesn't mean that they ignore the employees. And I think what happens, especially in this type of economy in healthcare, you really have to focus on your customer, whether in most cases, which is the patient, and at the same time have good processes in place so that you can be profitable and you can keep your doors open. After that, we jumped into law. Again, it was a pretty dry course. However, I did learn a tremendous amount of information about contracts, both on a personal level and a professional level. And contracts what I do as a physician recruiter, every physician that we do hire is on a contract along with mid-levels. So it's good to have a good understanding of how contracts work, how important they are, and the fact that once you have a negotiated, authorized contract, that you really have to stick within the boundaries of that contract. After that, we headed off into our concentrations, and fortunately, even though I worked in healthcare, I made a last-minute decision to change my concentration to marketing, which is really, fortunately, one of the best things I did throughout the whole program. Because, in essence, recruiting is marketing. So it was great that I have a better understanding of marketing. Concepts I learned were the importance of first to market and integrating your whole marketing plan, whether it's web-based, written communication, when it's all got to be integrated so that you can brand your product with whoever your customers are. And another thing too that was important is it's about managing your customer relationship. It has to be two-way. It just can't be pushing a lot of stuff out to customers. And one thing that really helped me with this course is I've developed a social networking program for my current employer. It's a large hospital, nonprofit. We set up our own recruiting page through Facebook, and I currently have, in about 3 months, I already have 100 followers, which is pretty good when you consider my audience. And I fully anticipate integrating a enhanced social networking program when I go to my new employer in Santa Barbara. And I will utilize Facebook. Also will do some tweeting to get the word out to my end user, who are physicians, about new opportunities in emergency medicine. After that, we moved into statistics, which I knew would be a real struggle for me. I actually hired a tutor And thank goodness that I did that. And what I liked about that class is anything I need to do in my future can be done in Excel. I actually bought an additional Excel book, and I'm going to go back and review that. But it's just amazing the power of Excel and how that can help us out in statistics. After that, we took an e-business class, which was a great class, talked about some of the existing e-business companies like Google and part of Apple and all the different applications they have. And it's really, I think e-business will continue to be a force to be reckoned with. And I personally think one of the reasons why the unemployment rate continues to stay around 9% nationally is that companies have figured out how to do a lot more with a lot less employees. And a lot of that has to do, I think, with e-business. Then the fun started. We had 10 solid weeks of accounting and finance. Fortunately, I was able to regroup with some of my cohorts that I had done team projects with, particularly Brooke, Alan, and Matt. And literally, for over 10 weeks, we spent Friday nights. We had a conference call for 2, sometimes 4 hours. Followed that up with another conference call on the weekend. And we took some quizzes together to get ready for the exams. And again, I just wouldn't have made it through without those 3 cohorts of mine. We had a lot of fun doing it. It was exhausting. We all got A's or A minuses in the course, so it just talks about the value of teamwork. Then we took a global management course, which again I thought was excellent. I had no idea how much the global economy has a factor in our U.S. economy, particularly when you look at things like NAFTA and some of the different financial issues going across the world right now in 2011. Big countries of concern. One is Ireland, another one is Spain. So a lot of talk going on with the euro and if they're going to continue that or do something different with it. But again, just emphasize the importance of global management. We ended the program with a capstone, and we had to come up with a strategic plan, which really tied everything together. The plan I picked is how to develop a passive recruiting strategy in my current organization. Right now, I'm the only recruiter that really goes after passive candidates, and I do a lot of that through LinkedIn. And the whole project was geared about how to incorporate LinkedIn to the other recruiters and what they do. Also did a cost analysis, ROI analysis, pretty much incorporated everything that I've learned throughout the MBA. How would I conclude it? Probably the best 18 months I spent in my life. I have about 10 years left in my career to go, and I really think I'm going to be able to incorporate all of this. I also did keep all my books. I plan to go back and reread some of them, and particularly ones like organizational behavior, some of the, believe it or not, the Excel for accounting and statistics, and all the marketing books I plan to reread. That's a wrap, and if I could end up the whole MBA experience, I walked by one of my partner's offices the other day, and he has this great quote in his office. And the quote is that hope is not a strategy. And I think that's one thing that we learn as an MBA graduate is you really should be making decisions that are based on data, facts, and research. Again, hope is not a strategy, and that's a wrap. And again, I look forward to reviewing this in 10 years. Hopefully I'm sitting on a beach, retired, chasing waves somewhere in Baja. All right, that's it, out.